And joining me right now here on the Mark Moses Show to preview a new season of high school football, we are now joined by one of the best in the business here on the coast. He is head football coach Chris Sands at Gallie High School. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Just trying to beat this heat, but everything's going good and smooth, and we're excited for today's practice.
Did you at least get some vacation this summer before we get back to the grind?
Man, I got 3 young kids. It's never a vacation. So we say it all the time. Every day is a vacation for football coaches because we get to do what we love. But a true vacation, no. The answer is no.
What was it like Sunday night when you're probably at home with the family? Like, all right, I get my guys back on the football field. We're going to start practicing.
I don't know if I might feel that inside, but I try not to show it too much because obviously we take a lot of time away from our family. That's the hard part of being a high school coach is, you take a lot of time away from your own family. But Sunday night was, like I said, I've been doing this a long time now. I've been a head coach for a long time. So the feeling's still the same. I know when the feeling goes away, it's time for me to kind of hang it up. But I still have the feeling to, impact these young kids and, have an opportunity to compete at everything we do. We are excited, obviously, for practice to start. But us as coaches, it is hard on, the family in general, but we're definitely excited as coaches.
Well, you guys started yesterday. I know you're going to be practicing this afternoon in this heat. And the weather guy said 110 with the heat index. What are you guys doing out there to make sure everyone's going to be okay in the heat?
Yeah, I mean, we have policies that are in place via the FHSAA, different type of procedures that we have to get done for us to be able to practice. So obviously all those are in place. But the biggest part is, we've been working all summer to get to this point to be able to practice in the heat. Obviously, the water and the tents and all that stuff, for the help the kids. But at the end of the day, we have to follow those policies via the FHSAA to make sure we're able to practice.
Did you tell your players, hey, guess what? End of July, I'm your coach again. You better be ready for fall camp.
Nah, I'm not much of a dictator like that. We got a great staff around us that we're just a group of guys that love the game and love helping kids. So there is no I'm your guy or anything like that. Obviously these guys know they can come to me about anything, but they understand that our expectations are high, and we should be kind of in that mode from day one, whether it's the start of fall camp or the start of summer or the off season or baseball season or whatever they're doing. We should be in the same mindset to be able to compete in everything we do.
You got to a region final last year. I know you think about it.
We won the regional final. We got to.
Sorry. I apologize with Chris Sands. I said the wrong term there. I'm getting ready for the new season as well with the terminology. All right, you are one step away, like one step. I know you guys had an amazing season. Do you keep thinking about that, or do you move on for a fresh start this year?
I think you gotta. It's natural to think about it, but at the end of the day, we use it as motivation. We don't want to be one step away. We don't want to be in the Final Four. We don't want to, have the best record in school history. We don't want it. We want to win it all, and that's the goal. In every game we go into, we want to be prepared to win, and that's kind of why we scheduled the schedule we have this year. People think we're crazy for having the schedule we have, but we have to find a way to beat those Miami teams at the very end. So we can win a state championship. So again, we do use it as motivation. Obviously, last season is last season, but at the end of the day, we're trying to prepare ourselves to compete at the highest level to be able to play deep into December.
When you take last year and what you just said, what you accomplished, what does your football team need to do on the field and maybe off the field to get to that next level and beat some of those teams?
I think, like I said, us as coaches, we did as best we could to put these kids in some adverse situations. So when we get deep into the playoffs, they've seen it all. And with the caliber teams we play against, I mean, we are really playing the toughest classification in the country. I mean, 3A Florida is brutal, and so we can't go into every playoff game and running clock teams and stuff like that because we're playing the best of the best. So again, we had to figure out a way to instill in our kids that this is the expectation. Our expectation isn't to go far. It's not to go to the Final Four or win more games in school history or any of that stuff. Our expectations is to win every single game. So again, we try to put our kids in the situations to do that. And like I said, the schedule we have, hopefully these adverse times during the year will help us later in the playoff run.
Okay, for our fans of Gallie football, what did you do? I'm making the phone call thing motion right here. Do you're like, all right, I got to make a new schedule. You just start using the phones, text. How do you make it happen?
No, to be honest, it kind of happened naturally. When you win 12 games, no one wants to play you anyway. I mean, we've had teams in this county that dropped us that have played us 60 plus years in a row, and they won't play us. So obviously, we had to make our schedule, somehow, some way. So then, we wanted to play tough games, as tough as we can, because we never back down from competition. But at the end of the day, it kind of just happened naturally. We're kind of traveling all over the state to play teams. We're playing a team from Ocala. We're playing a handful of teams from down south. We're playing TFA, who's arguably the best team in the country right now. So again, we kind of had to do it because of our success these last couple of years. But again, in the long run, I think it's really, really going to benefit us, in our playoff run.
What is the best way to describe Gallie football in your eyes? When teams come play you, what is your identity?
I've been saying it since spring. We're self-motivated. Obviously we've done a really good job as a staff getting kids to college. So these kids come in and they want the best out of themselves. So again, I would describe our kids as just self-motivated. If we have 11 guys on the field doing exactly what they're supposed to do, we're gonna be a really good football team. Everyone says there's no I in team and all that stuff, but if everyone does their job and everyone does their job at 100%, I think that team can be successful. So again, I think our identity is self-motivated, and we're here for a purpose. I mean, we're here to obviously be great citizens, great students, great kids, but at the end of the day, great football players as well. So we're gonna put our best 11 on the field and compete in everything we do. But these guys are self-motivated for sure.
Coach, I had to ask this. You brought up education. How important is it for your players to make sure they go to class and be that student athlete?
Well, it's huge, and like I said, our standard for the the college level, we have to have our kids prepared, to be able to compete at the college level. So when they get to college, they got to understand, study habits and the ability to be in class every single day and be at the front of the classroom and understand what they're doing, because in the college world, they're going to do that. I mean, we had three kids enroll early, last year. Two of them were 16 years old and enrolling to college, and one of them was starting as a true freshman right now. And so again, the classroom stuff kind of entails, and it kind of branches off the football side of it, because if you're not prepared in the classroom as, not just prepared being smart, but just understand the study habits and expectations and, those little things to get you through, it's going to make it a lot easier for you on the football field when it gets to the college level.
We're here with Chris Sands-Eau, Gallie High School. All right, so the schedule, you guys are going to be in camp here for a couple weeks, get ready for the kickoff classic. What are you guys doing exactly?
Yeah, so obviously we got to install our playbooks and do all that stuff. The first couple weeks type of stuff, but we're in the grind. In our kickoff classic, we play a plantation team out of South Florida, who is ultra talented. We expect them to be elite on both sides of the ball. So we got to prepare ourselves mentally more so than anything. Like obviously, it's easy to get hyped for the first game physically, but mentally, how's that going to tail for you when you give up an interception or you fumble the ball or you miss a tackle or whatever that entails. I think our preparation mentally needs to be very, very high these next couple of weeks, and that just comes with preparation in the off season. We do a really good job with our guys in the off season. Our strength conditioning coach is phenomenal. So again, I think our kids are going to be prepared for that week 0, they call it, against Plantation.
You talk about this gauntlet of a schedule that you guys want, which I respect. You like The Rock, just bring it, which I think is pretty cool. Is there a point there in the season where you feel like, hey, we better start clicking by maybe October? Do you kind of do that where you look at the schedule? Hey, this better start working by the time we get close to the playoffs. How do you look at
Well, we better be clicking by week one because we play one of the best teams in the state in Vero Beach. So we can't say in the middle of the year. Like obviously, if you win your district, you're in the playoffs, and that's the goal, in the high school world. But we saw it last year. We played a defending state championship team in Mainland in the Kickoff Classic, and we did a lot of things to kind of figure out where we were. And people kind of wrote us off after that Kickoff Classic game because we really didn't play well. But again, we were trying to do some things as a staff to try to figure out some things. And then in week one, we beat Vero Beach, who again is arguably one of the better teams in the state. So again, we got to figure out by week one. Obviously, our first goal of the year is to win the district. But again, that week one game against Vero Beach will help us, win or lose, because again, they're such a talented team. But again, we got to go into a hostile environment down there, arguably the best place to play in the state of Florida, people say. So we're excited for that opportunity to go down there and compete against a great team.
No, I'm going to correct you. The best place to play is Gallie, right?
During that playoff game, that was the best high school atmosphere I've ever seen. I hope we can get that week in and week out here this coming year. But again, no, we had a great support system, during that playoff run. We hosted every single week in the playoffs, which is huge for our community and our administration. And we were really proud of our guys last year. But again, we can't keep looking back at last year. Obviously, we can again use it as motivation, but we got a great group of guys that are ready to compete this year.
You want to give a shout out to your coaching staff because I know you're not a one-man band.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of your other coaches, bud.
Again, as I always say, it's not about me. I have a really, really good group around me. I'm not going to name them because they know who they are, and at the end of the day, I say it all the time. I don't consider myself a genius in what I do. I have really, really, really good people around me. And we've been around each other for a long time now. And that's kind of, in my opinion, a huge part of our success because we've been able to keep the same coaches around us. So, our coordinators, guys like Trick Guy and Kier Hall and Marquise Ramos, and those guys are some of my best friends in my life now. And so, again, it's a brotherhood that we have. And, there's no magical dust that, we throw on these kids or whatever. We're a group of guys that want to branch out to the community here in Brevard County, and hopefully coach some football and have some fun and impact these guys' lives. And again, it's not the Chris Sands show. It never was. It never will be. But this staff works tirelessly every single day for these guys to be able to compete at the highest level on Friday nights.
All right, follow up then. What about your players? Do they need some love, Coach?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's all about them, and it always has been. Guys like Joseph Allen, our quarterback, or Xavier Larice, the all-star athlete, going to Oregon, or Tyshawn Lang, or all these guys. I mean, we really have a great group of guys that go out week in and week out and compete. And again, at the end of the day, we are trying to impact these guys to be successful in life, and whether it's playing college football or going to be doctors or lawyers or whatever it is, we want to be able to get the maximum out of our guys and have them be great people. We say it all the time, be a kind person. It's not just be a great person, be a kind person, be someone that someone can look to for some kindness. So we try to instill that in our guys, and hopefully if it's one or two or three acts of kindness throughout a week, it's huge because you never know who you're impacting.
I talked with Xavier a couple weeks ago. His dad's a great guy as well. I'm still confused, Coach. How do you get to Eugene, Oregon from Melbourne, Florida? That is far, man. Far.
Yeah, there's a couple flights involved, but those guys recruited that kid so well throughout the process. Xavier wants to be different. He's always been that kind of different breed where he wants the best for him and his family. And I think Eugene, Oregon is a great place for him to do that. And that staff over there is so genuine. They really are. And they've done a phenomenal job recruiting him and recruiting all our players. And again, those relationships in the college world, and those are huge. And obviously Xavier has a great one with those guys up there.
Do you take great pride in these different universities calling you up saying, we want to look at your play?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a real pride in me. Again, we just want the highest opportunities for our guys, especially in this world of college football with the money involved and everything else like that. We want to be able to provide our kids with an opportunity. We say it all the time around here. It only takes one. There's all these guys are getting all these offers, and obviously the exposure is awesome. But at the end of the day, you can only go to one school to start. And again, we as a staff, we really work hard in getting our guys the maximum in their recruitment. We feel like there's going to be no way possible that these guys are going to get under recruited here. And so again, it's not a pride in me or our staff. It's just having these kids get opportunities to be able to compete and, hopefully make some money at the next level, to be honest, and get a free education, because that's what it's all about.
You're absolutely right. Okay, so you guys are practicing this afternoon. All right, do you go with the shorts, the sleeves? What do you do in this heat as Coach Sands for the team?
So I got my first head job really young. I was 25, and my head coach in college wore sweatshirts in practice. So I used to do it all the time, but now it's just not possible. It's so hot out there. We try to wear, obviously, short sleeves and shorts and all that stuff. But there was one time when I was head coach in the Tampa area where I wore full hoodies. Again, that's what my head coach in college did. So I tried to do what he did. But again, after the first couple of years, I couldn't do it anymore. And it's not even the heat. It was more so getting home and it just smelling so bad. So I'd have to do laundry every single night. So again, we stopped doing that, first couple of years of coaching, and now we're back to just a normal coaching outfit.
When it's bad is when you yourself realize you smell.
And the only time you realize it when you're driving home, because it's only you in that car with you. So you kind of have that that time to yourself, and you notice it pretty quickly.
That is awesome stuff. All right, I know you're a busy man. I appreciate coming on with me. Good luck, Coach, on the new season, and I hope I can get you on during the season. All right.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks for having me.